A little over a year ago, I finished a 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, the Marvel Infinity Saga, and the last few pieces nearly broke me. I knew exactly what they looked like, just couldn't find them in the pile. But that's what I do for advisors now. I help them find the last few pieces of what they're building, their jigsaw puzzle. But even as a builder, here's what I had to admit first. For years, I was working on the wrong puzzle myself. I was building a practice that, if I'm honest, no one could have bought. And most advisors watching this right now are doing the same thing. They just don't know it yet. Nearly 30 years in this business, and I've seen just about every advisor scenario there is known to man. And here's the part that matters for this video. I recently completed the sale of my own practice, so everything I'm about to share, I didn't read about it, I actually lived it. And it started with the word, decide. I actually am somewhat of a nerd, and I broke down that etymology of the word, and it changed how I think about everything, because D means off, and side comes from the Latin cadere, to cut. Same root as the word strike. So to decide literally means to cut off, to strike something away. That's not the same as choosing. Choosing is picking one thing off a menu. Deciding is striking the rest of the menu off the table, kind of like Hernando Cortez in Burning the Boats. It's that part that hit me the hardest. The original meaning of the word back in the 1300s was to settle a dispute, to resolve a difficulty. So ask yourself, what dispute? Or whose dispute? It's the one you're having with yourself, my friend. Part of you wants to keep the practice. Part of you wants to build something else different than the blueprint that the industry handed you. The part where you've told your spouse you're thinking about it for the third year running, that's the dispute. And to decide is to settle it. At a stroke, done. In my particular case, I decided to sell my practice. Not explore my options, not see what happens, but I was just tired of building something else that was meant for someone else. So when I decided, that meant I had to stop advertising my wealth management business. Because you can't run a marketing engine for a business that you're exiting. That takes two different brains. But I didn't stop serving. When I met a great client that someone referred, I took the meeting, I ran my whole process, and then I was honest. I said, I'm transitioning out of my practice in the next 12 to 18 months, and I'll find you a lead advisor to steward you along the rest of your journey. Are you okay with that? Not one person said no. And I actually brought on 3 new families after I decided to sell, and every one of them increased my valuation. So here's the hard truth for most of you. You're not a decider, you're a chooser. You keep your options open because it feels safe. But options open are just unsettled disputes. They drain your energy, they split your focus, and they make your practice unsellable. Because a buyer can see when the owner has one foot out the door. Hey, look, if that reframe just landed with you, that's the kind of thing I publish every week on this channel. So subscribe and let's keep it going. I would really appreciate it. Back to the episode. Once I decided, the next question was obvious. What am I actually going to sell? And what am I selling? And the honest answer was I didn't fully know because I hadn't documented it. So I started something that turned into a 6-month process. I documented every single thing I do for clients, all the value adds, every touch point, every delivery, every conversation framework. Now, let me tell you, most advisors, when I ask them to write down every step of their client process or their client service model, they get to step 4 or 5 and say, we just kind of handle it. That's not a practice. That's a personality. And personalities aren't sellable, my friend. In that process, I found I had intellectual property I didn't know I had. Frameworks, systems, lessons that I learned years on end from working with clients. And once they were on paper, I could see them. More importantly, a buyer could see them. I built one standardized way of delivering value. Not tiers, not gold, silver, bronze, documented, repeatable. And here's what nobody tells you. A standardized practice is a sellable practice. Remember, a buyer isn't buying your personality because you're no longer there to run it. They're buying a system. And if it only works because of you, it's worthless. If it works because of a documented process, it's an asset. So the documentation did something I didn't expect. When I could see every single thing I did for a client on paper, I realized I was dramatically undercharging. So I raised my fees. Almost no attrition. The clients who value the work stayed. And here's the real lesson. I couldn't have raised those fees without documenting my processes first. You can't negotiate from, I think I'm worth more. You negotiate from, here are the 47 things I do for you every year. Here's the market rate for each, and here's what you're paying. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. So let me give you one distinction that changed my practice. If you want to do pro bono work, do pro bono work. Volunteer. Serve your community. But do not have pro bono clients sitting inside your practice. A pro bono client inside your practice is someone you're serving at a loss because you're afraid to have the fee conversation. That's not generosity, that's avoidance. And worse yet, you have your full fee paying clients subsidizing the services you're offering to those clients. It's destroying your valuation. And the thing about this is you never know where you're going to find your buyer. I found mine at Bible study. A guy in my group said, "There's someone you should meet. I met the co-founder of a growing firm. He hired me as a coaching consultant first. We built a real relationship and the sale happened naturally." The lesson isn't go to Bible study to find your buyer. It's that your buyer is probably already in your network, but you won't find them unless you say out loud what you're doing. Tell your mastermind, tell your network of people, tell people you trust. One of those conversations is probably going to become your exit. So once you've done the work, once you've known yourself, you know your craft and you know your worth, and buyers start showing up, how do you pick the right one? This is the bonus I promised you. The 3 C's. When you're evaluating a buyer, run them through these 3 filters. Culture. Would you trust them with your mom's account? Because that's who your clients are to you. Competency. Will they exceed what your clients expect? Not just meet it. Can they take them to the next level? And cash flow. Can they write you a check? Miss any one of these 3, walk away. And start this 5 years before the plan to sell, because you cannot evaluate culture, cash flow, and competency in a 30-day due diligence window. Hey there, quick interruption. If you're realizing your practice is built around you instead of a system and you want to change that, that's exactly what I work on with advisors in the Architect's Engagement. This is where you and I will take several snapshots of your current practice, identify the gaps, and put you in alignment with the vision you have for the proper exit when you decide to sell. This is by application only, links in the description. Let's get back to the episode. I started with the word decide and I'll end with the word decide. Most of you are running practices that could be sellable. Some are running practices that are only worth something as long as you show up every day to run it. The difference isn't your AUM or your revenue or your client count. The difference is whether you've done the work. Do you know what you are, what you actually want, and what you're building? Have you documented your craft well enough that someone else could deliver it without you running the show? And do you really know what you're worth? Know thyself, know thy craft, know thy worth. So here's my question, and you don't have to answer this out loud. What are you going to decide? Not choose, not think about. Not just grind away and build just because this is the blueprint the industry has given you. What dispute are you going to settle so that you can build the thing you actually want? I'm Dom Henderson. Now go build something you're proud of.